きてり込む手がふらる閉じにはやらせんで手めちきの酒この尻時もこれて漏れちての魂で明日の君開けノクシェスはの襟だけ進め嘘ましめりもそれなり守りたい世界いやこう手で吠えてゆけ金がされも言わずつか燃える心は地もしょな近いコントロールすげて回るような
Planet Namek, Vegeta, Nail, and Piccolo were managing to recover from their injuries thanks to Dende, who had the power to heal others. Given that, he was attending to the wounded, one of whom was Krillin, who was now unconscious. Damn it! Despite having increased my powers after the fight against Frieza, it's still not enough to stop him. Vegeta said helplessly while smashing a rock. I know how you feel, Vegeta, but hitting that rock won't help at all. We need to find a way to strengthen ourselves to finish off that pest, Piccolo told the Sin as he stood up. Nail, on the other hand, was watching all the injured Namekians who had survived Frieza's attacks, and after thinking for a while, he turned to the Sin and Piccolo. I have an idea that might work for us, he said seriously to both. The two turned to look at the Namekian, and it was Vegeta who spoke. What are you plotting, insect? He said in an annoyed tone, I will give my strength to Piccolo so we can be more useful against Frieza, Nail replied, leaving both surprised. Are you talking about assimilation? Exclaimed Piccolo upon realizing what he was referring to. That's right. Please, Piccolo, exclaimed Nail for the Namekian to absorb his strength. Ho ho ho, what are insignificant flies like you plotting? Freezer! Screamed the three warriors upon hearing the voice of the evil Emperor. Vegeta, after our last confrontation, you have become more powerful. Congratulations! The tyrant said while applauding him in a gesture of congratulations. Task. Stop mocking me, insect! Shouted the Sien and launched himself to attack Freezer, punching him in the face. The Emperor quickly countered with an attack using his tail, but Vegeta dodged it with a spin and then delivered a powerful kick to the Emperor's ribs, sending him crashing into a mountain. Vegeta was astonished as he looked at his hands, and slowly a smile began to form on his face. I can do it, I can keep up with him, and I even have the advantage, he exclaimed before charging to attack Freezer again. Meanwhile, Piccolo and Nail saw a ray of hope as they watched how Vegeta was superior to the Emperor of Evil. It's now or never, Piccolo. We must help Vegeta. Nail shouted to urge him to assimilate it quickly. Tisk, damn it, I'll do it. But if you feel uncomfortable, I will reject you, understood? Piccolo told him while placing his palm on his chest. Of course, do it at once, shouted Nail, smiling at him, and without further ado, Piccolo processed it, significantly increasing his power. Incredible, he whispered while opening and closing his hand at the increase of power. Then he saw towards the village since they had not noticed Freezer's presence and Dende was still healing the Namekians. Well, we will go for it all or nothing, he whispered again and flew towards where the battle was. Meanwhile, Bulma was running out of a cave since the ship was hidden there. I have to tell the kids the news. Damn, I shouldn't have stayed talking with my dad. Now I've lost track of time, Bulma said as she ran. A few minutes later she arrived at the village where Dende was located. Bulma, where were you? The young Dende shouted upon hearing Bulma arrived. I'm sorry, I went to the ship and managed to contact a friend who is already on his way and will defeat Frieza. She replied to Dende, who opened his eyes in surprise. Defeat Frieza? Are you sure? He's very powerful, Dende said to Bulma while finishing healing the last injured person. Of course he will. I'm very sure he will, she said, filled with tremendous confidence. Why are you so sure? She asked, seeing that her spirits were so high. Bulma smiled at her and said, it's a gut feeling. On the battlefield, Piccolo had arrived just as Frieza was emerging from some rubble, badly injured, but Vegeta was giving his all. Galik Fu! Shouted the Saiyan, launching the technique at the Emperor who, incredibly, could barely hold it back. I must help him as soon as possible, Piccolo thought as he brought 2 fingers to his forehead and began to gather a huge amount of ki as time went by, and little by little Frieza began to counter Vegeta's technique. Makanko Sapo! Shouted the name Kian before launching his technique and hitting Frieza, causing a huge explosion thanks to the help of Vegeta's attack. We did it, Piccolo thought while smiling, but little by little the smoke screen dissipated and there he was with serious wounds but still smiling. Ho ho ho, let's put an end to this warming once and for all. Do you agree, Vegeta, Mr. Nankian? Said Frieza while dusting off his shoulders. What are you saying, insect? You will die here and now. Shouted an enraged Vegeta upon hearing that arrogant tone from the evil Emperor. Frieza smiled subtly. I didn't expect the other named Kian to arrive, he said, glancing sideways at Piccolo. It seems I have no choice, he whispered while starting to laugh. What are you laughing at? Exclaimed Vegeta and Piccolo. Frieza stopped smiling and looked at both of them with a death stare. Let me show you my latest transformation, he yelled as a purple aura began to surround him. You last TR. Transformation. Both warriors whispered as they swallowed hard and watched Frieza finish transforming. Ho ho ho, very well. Now who wants to be the first to die? He said while looking at both warriors who were in shock. I know. Your attack was the one that hurt me. He shouted and then shot a beam at Piccolo's leg. Ah! Piccolo screamed in pain as he fell but managed to kneel on his other leg. And now, it's Vegeta's turn. He shouted, launching several beams at the Saiyan who could do nothing and fell to the ground as he was pierced through his legs and shoulders. Gag! Damn it! Vegeta said as he started to bleed and his body no longer responded. Frieza approached the Saiyan and began to hit him over and over again in the face but without killing him, as he wanted him to suffer. Hey! Enough with the damn little vermin! Piccolo shouted, ready to launch another Makanko Sapo while he gathered energy as they beat Vegeta. Makanko-sa, gay aog! Shouted in pain as he lost his arm. Don't think I forgot about you, named Kian, he said before punching him in the stomach followed by a kick sending him a few meters back and then throwing him for another while piercing his abdomen. Gai, you are a bastard! Piccolo shouted in enormous pain. Frieza smiled and then turned to look at Vegeta, and now you die! He shouted, launching another blast at the Saiyan but it was stopped by another person. Kakaroto, Vegeta whispered upon seeing the Saiyan Goku. Piccolo shouted with a slight smile upon seeing him arrive. Hey who the heck are you? He asked Goku, but Goku would turn his back and get to the level of Vegeta. Hey, that's bad. I didn't bring any hermit seeds, but can you hold on until I defeat this bastard? He asked seriously to Vegeta, who was surprised by what was said. What is this? He deflected Frieza's beam like it was nothing. Besides, I feel a huge aura of supremacy emanating from him, and he is confident that he can defeat Frieza. Could it be? Could Kakarot be the legendary Super Saiyan? Vegeta thought. Hey, who do you think you are to ignore me? Die! He screamed while charging ki in his finger to unleash a powerful lightning bolt, but suddenly he felt like he was lacking oxygen. He brought his hands to his neck to try to breathe, but suddenly his entire body felt great pressure and he fell to the ground. What is this? Is this the power of this guy? No. It can't be, Freezer thought. Then he closed his eyes for a few seconds and saw red eyes watching him. Impossible! Freezer yelled as he tried to recover. With great effort he looked up at the sky and saw the only person he never wanted to see again. Miu! The Emperor whispered upon seeing the goddess of destruction to you. I am still Lady Miu. I heard the Emperor as if it were a whisper in his ear, but she remained up there, sadistically smiling, making the Emperor shudder. Freezer, right? Goku asked him while recovering and looking at the Emperor. The cold demon looked at the Sien, and luckily for him, he felt his body return to normal. He glanced up at the sky, and Miu was no longer there. Tisk, who the hell are you? The Emperor shouted, regaining his composure. My name is Son Goku. I am a Sien raised on Earth and I came here to defeat you, damn murderer, the Sien replied seriously. Ho ho ho. You, defeat me? Freezer said arrogantly. Suddenly Goku disappeared from the sight of the evil Emperor, who in an instant appeared on another stage, a place quite far from where they were. There were no mountains now, it was just an open field to fight. The demon felt something fall into his mouth, and when he passed his hand he saw it was blood, making him furious. Now you will pay for this, stupid monkey. He shouted, increasing his power. Get ready for my 50%. He yelled in rage and lunged at the Sien. Goku barely smiled and whispered, Kaioken X20, and stopped Freezer's punch, countering with a knee to the abdomen, pushing Freezer back, who managed to hit him in the face with his tail. Not bad, Frieza said with a slight smile. I'll tell you something. Better leave this planet and don't do any more of your misdeeds, is that clear? Goku said seriously. Damn worm, who do you think I am? I am the Emperor, the great Frieza, and you will die in my hands. He screamed full of fury as he increased his power. Then that will be your definitive answer. Then Miu was right. You don't deserve to live, Goku said seriously as the Kaioken's aura disappeared. Freezer, upon hearing the name of the goddess of destruction, got a little scared but was surprised that the Sien knew her. Do you know the goddess of destruction? Freezer shouted, not stopping to increase his power. Of course, after all, she is my girlfriend, he said with a smile. In the skies, Miu smiled upon hearing the Sien, as she and Whis were watching everything. Girlfriend? What is that? Well, it doesn't matter, after all, you worms will die, he said, smiling after unleashing all his power. Start to tremble, Freezer, because I'm about to be the Super Saiyan you have always feared, he said with a slight smile. Impossible. It was supposed to be just a legend. You're definitely lying. Goku began to scream as a golden aura started to envelop him, caused his hair to change to a golden color and stand on end, while the color of his eyes changed to green. Freezer was in shock at seeing the change that the Sien had undergone, and without waiting, he launched a blast at the Sien's face, but it barely made him bleed a little. I see you can destroy planets but not a person, he said with a slight smile. Mr. Whis, please take Vegeta and Piccolo to Bulma, who is in a nearby village. Tell her to revive the others and to come back to Earth, please, he was saying to the angel as they were in communication thanks to the staff. Very well, but remember, Mrs. Miu is worried about you, so don't let your guard down, was replied before communicating to Miu what the Sien requested. I know, don't worry, he replied before refocusing on the battle, and without further ado, he launched an attack on Freezer, punching him in the abdomen. However, the villain, with great effort, grabbed the Sien's head and kneed him, which Goku stopped with his arms and spun him around. managing to deliver a powerful kick to Freezer that sent him crashing into a rock. Hey, shouted Goku, launching a Kamehameha instantly, but the villain barely managed to dodge it and countered by launching several beams which Goku was repelling while flying towards him, and at the last moment ducking down and kicking him with both legs, sending him upwards and then appearing above him to grab him by the tail and start spinning at an enormous speed before throwing him down to create a massive crater. Vegeta and Piccolo were still on the ground, severely injured, but suddenly a strange figure appeared, and behind him came a woman. "It's been a while, Prince Vegeta," Miu said, smiling at the Saiyan, which surprised him. "T2. I know you," I managed to say with great effort. Miu looked at both and then sighed. "Was healing them would be a hassle to carry them around," she said to the angel. "As you command, Mrs. Miu," he replied with a slight smile, and then cured both of them, who did not understand why the help. "Let's go with Bulma. By the way, thank my Goku for the help," he said before flying away with Whis. "My Goku?" The two wondered, not understanding what it referred to. Perhaps it was their new teacher, and then they flew off in the direction where Bulma was located. Miu and Whis saw all the injured Namekians, and another young man who was recovering since he had healed them. Next to him was a blue-haired woman talking to one of the injured, who was a bald man. "Bulma," called Miu as she approached the named one. The brief turned around and saw the woman approaching her. "That voice, it's you," she said as a smile started to form on her face. "That's right, and as I told you, here we are." "And the Dragon Balls?" she asked with curiosity and urgency, as she wanted this whole matter to end. "We have them stored away, by the way. Now will you tell me who you are?" She asked this with curiosity. "I am the goddess of destruction, Miu, and for some time now I have been Goku's girlfriend. And let me tell you that I have heard a lot about you," she said with a slight smile. "G goddess? No, wait. I mean, girlfriend? Wow, that Goku is quite the flirt after all, haha. I hope you've heard good things about me, hehe," she said, extending her hand. Miu smiled again and shook Bulma's hand. "Thank you for taking care of my Goku all this time," she said cheerfully. Haha. "Oh please, I should thank him for taking care of all of us. I hope we can be friends. I should call her Mrs. Miu, right?" she said a bit shyly. "Jaa. You can call me Miu. You should feel honored, ha ha ha," she said while laughing with her hands on her hips. "Cough cough, Mrs. Miu, do you not forget something important?" Whis said, gaining the attention of the goddess of destruction. Right. Bulma, quickly the Dragon Balls. Bring back your friends and return to Earth, Whis, and I will stay with Goku," she told Brief, "so they can make the wishes." Back in the fight, Goku was having a considerable advantage over Freezer, who was on the ground with several injuries. "Tell me one thing, is that all there is?" Goku asked seriously. "Tisk, damned. Ha ha ha, this planet. It will be destroyed in 5 minutes." Screaming, launching an attack towards the interior of the planet. "You're a wretch." Goku enraged and kicked him hard, and then took him by the head and hit him on the ground again and again, and then threw him against a rock, but with great difficulty the villain got back on his feet. "Damn unfortunate ape, do you think that will be enough to defeat Bad Big Frieza?" he shouted angrily, and with enormous speed launched a supernova attack. The Saiyan was surprised by the powerful attack he made in seconds. Hey, Goku shouted, quickly launching a Kamehameha and hitting Freezer's technique, which were evenly matched. "Ha ha, all that's left is to buy time and you will die along with this planet," Freezer said while increasing the power of his technique a little more. Goku, faced with this, began to increase his power more and more, thus starting to win the clash of powers, but several explosions began to occur, releasing some potent toxic gases, and one of them exploded next to Goku, causing him to inhale the gas and lose focus, thus starting to lose the clash of powers. But fortunately, at the last moment, he used all his power and composed himself, managing to win the clash of abilities and hit Freezer with a powerful Kamehameha, which made him lose his tail and one arm. Hug. Damn! Freezer cried in pain. With the others, Dende had summoned Poroma and then he intervened. My first wish is that you send everyone to Earth except me, Whis, Goku, and Freezer, he told Poroma. Mrs. Miu, wishes are requested in the Namekian language, Dende told her. Calm down, he will fulfill my wish or he will know why I am the goddess of destruction, she replied, smiling kindly. After that, the dragon sweated and then his eyes shone, and thus everyone disappeared from the planet except for the four of them. Then the dragon said something that the goddess did not understand. Oh, Mrs. Miu, it seems that Wish used the energy of the other two. The dragon will leave, was said while laughing. Tisk, how useless, disappear at once, annoyed Miu said to the dragon, who vanished and then along with was left the planet to observe the fight through the staff since Goku had asked them not to interfere in his battle. Give up already, you can't defeat me, the Saiyan said seriously. Shut up! Shut up! The Emperor was shouting as he threw several bolts of lightning, but the Saiyan easily countered them since Freezer's power had started to diminish. All right. You asked for it. Goku shouted as the golden aura appeared and he launched a kick at the leg. Crayock was the sound of the bone breaking. The Saiyan took the villain by the head and then gave him a headbutt, smashing his head against the ground and finishing with another powerful kick that sent him crashing against some rocks. Well, it's over, said Goku, but suddenly he lost his Super Saiyan transformation and fell to his knees on the ground while he began to spit blood, struggling to breathe at the same time. Goku! Shouted Miu, who descended from space in seconds and took the Saiyan in her arms. Whis also appeared, Mrs. Miu. There are only a few seconds left until the planet is destroyed, he warned. The goddess of destruction carried Goku and then took Whis by the shoulder. Let's go! She shouted and off they went. Upon reaching space, the planet exploded, but it didn't hurt the three of them. Whis! Heal him! Heal him! Miu cried desperately, seeing how the Saiyan was slowly fading away. I can't do it here in space, since Mr. Goku can't breathe in it like we do, Whis replied seriously. Then, let's go to the nearest planet, said the goddess quite nervously. As you order, the cause must have been that gas that exploded next to him in his fight against Frieza, was commented, but Miu was only looking at Goku. The goddess started to tear up as she placed her forehead against his, please hold on. Goku! Don't leave me, she whispered with fear. The Saiyan barely opened his eyes, finding himself face to face with the tearful eyes of the goddess of destruction. I am sorry. I thought he would change his mind, he whispered to the white-haired woman. You're a fool, fool, fool. Hold on a little longer, love. Whis, how much longer? He exclaimed to the angel. 1 minute, Mrs. Miu, the angel quickly replied. The Saiyan spat out a huge amount of blood onto the white dress that Miu was wearing. I am sorry. I love you, Miu, Goku whispered as he began to close his eyes. No, don't you dare leave Goku, because I am pregnant, I shouted while crying harder. The Saiyan opened one eye with great effort, and tried to say something but Miu silenced him with a short kiss. Don't strain yourself, just hold on. We've arrived, said Whis as he landed on the planet. Miu grabbed Goku again with both hands while Whis made his staff shine as he placed it over the Saiyan, and after a few seconds he removed it. I eliminated the toxic gas from his system, now he will sleep for a few days. It is advisable that he rests here, I said to Miu seriously. So we'll do that, we'll stay on this planet until then. By the way, where are we? I asked him with curiosity and enormous relief knowing that the Saiyan would recover. "Let me see," was said while checking his staff and then looking at Mio to tell her, "Ydrit."